Welcome to Purpose. I'm your host, Brittany Zonker, and on today's episode, I have a multi-Emmy award-winning and executive producer and owner of Mant Productions, Michael Mant. Welcome to the show. Mant Bros Production.
Yeah,
because
I can't leave out my brother.
You and your, I know sometimes in life you want to, but well, hey to Neil out there, everybody.
Right. Yeah.
So you came out here from Michigan.
Well,
right?
I was raised in Michigan, and I started my career at ESPN. I graduated, I went to Fordham University in New York. I wanted to play pro baseball. I was a pitcher. I hurt my shoulder. So whatever tiny chance I had of ever struggling in the minors was gone. So I figured if I can't play pro sports for a living, I'll watch pro sports for a living. So I got a job at ESPN as a production assistant in 1993.
Which was that in Bristol?
In Bristol. Starting salary, $18,000 a year. 6 days a week, not staff, temporary. I'd never taken a TV class in my life. I was a history major, but I knew sports. And that's what really mattered to ESPN back then. And even still now, they just want people who know sports. And it was a really interesting time in the industry because the internet didn't even exist. ESPN.com didn't, ESPN2, ESPN News, ESPN, it was ESPN, that was it. And right when I started, they launched a second network, and the whole sports media landscape just started to grow. So I was there for a year and a half, and I left because I wanted to explore other opportunities and didn't want to live in one place my whole life. So I moved back to New York. I freelanced, bouncing around as a feature producer on everything.
How do you go though from leaving your job at ESPN to be a freelance producer?
I had a job. I had one project that afforded me the opportunity to leave.
Okay.
I had a 6-month opportunity working on something with ABC and an outside company, and it was called Sports Lab. And it was kind of, I said it's like the NFL experience before the NFL experience ever existed. It was like this traveling sports theme park. And it was way ahead of its time, but it gave me an out. I remember I got paid $700 a week, and I was like, wow, I'm rich. So,
yeah. Well, back then, money's different too, though. Money is a little...
Yeah, so I did that, and then after 6 months, I didn't know what I was going to do. I had a difficult time figuring out what was going to be next. I had a few months that really struggled, and then I ended up picking up some other projects in the sports space, and a gig on the Olympics in 1996. And the Olympics is a type of environment where in sports television, it's like a convention for people in the industry. So everyone from different networks and different companies works there. They come together for a month. So you make a lot of relationships and contacts. Off that, I met some folks from the NBA, so I started doing NBA stuff. It eventually led to some stuff with ABC folks and Monday Night Football. And when I was at the Olympics, I saw for the first time a non-linear editing system. Back then it was kind of tape to tape, and it was the first time I saw like a computer. It was an Avid, and I was like, wait a minute, like,
how do you use?
I can just get on a mouse and move that around, and it just kind of went in my head. I said, all right, I'm going to learn how to do that. I'm going to buy one of those, and then I'm going to have my own little company. And I made it my goal to make sure I would learn how to edit, and I took a job at Major League Baseball in 1999 because they made all the producers learn how to edit. So
were you still living in New York?
I was in New York. I was living in the city this time.
Everything's...
And took a job there, and I worked there for a year and a half, and then I went back to do the Olympics with NBC in Sydney, and I went over to Australia for a month, and I got to know Bob Costas because I was working with him and Hannah Storm doing the opening teases of the Olympics when the show comes on. And Bob start a show with HBO, a talk show, and he asked me if I wanted to come to HBO. And there was another producer there who they essentially brought me to HBO. So I quit Major League Baseball and went to HBO Sports.
Which, by the way, all of these transitions, like it sounds so easy, sounds so free flowing. I know, like in life, I talk to people sometimes, and they're like, it's so difficult. There's a struggle in between. How do you feel like your life just had kind of these somewhat seamless transitions?
it seems seamless when you explain it like this in a linear fashion, but there were a lot of, again, when I left ESPN, I had a few months where I had no idea what I was going to do. I was almost going to get out of the industry. And then, I did have a good run, and you do good work. And at that time, the way the industry was and where my price point was, there was always pretty good, consistent work. Mm-hmm. And it was a matter of you do your job well, word gets out, people want to hire you. I wasn't making a ton of money, but I wasn't poor. I was doing well for someone in their late 20s.
Is that what you would suggest for people if they're wanting to get into an industry? Say somebody works.
I think if you get in any job, I don't care what it is, you
work hard.
Once the door is cracked open, you have to knock it down and just crush and do great work, not good work, great work. And my experience is most people don't want to work 7 days a week or even 6 days a week. So if you're that person who's willing to work 6 days a week, 7 days a week, and do really good work and follow up and be really strong at your job, you're going to find buyers and hirers who want to take you in. So I think I did really solid work and was super committed. And you just have to be willing to put in the time and choose work over play if you want to advance in your career. That's for sure.
True. There's some things that can derail you in your life, and if you're at an earlier age, you recognize I'm not going to be put off course by X, Y, and Z. Maybe partying, relationships, going out, whatever it is, it takes you away.
And look, it helps to be a career that you like, and that's why you want to try to choose something you care about. Because I always said you don't get into this business to make money. You get into it because you don't feel like you have to work. But if you're really good at it, you will make money. Mm-hmm. So I went to HBO and did the show with Bob, and it was like a 6 month on, 6 month off project. When that show was on, I would roll into real sports or documentaries or something. And when I got hired, I asked, the one show I didn't want to work on was Inside the NFL. And after 6 months, it was in May of 2000, my boss, set up a meeting with me. He said, "Hey, I want to talk about what we're going to have you do next." I said, "Great." Now, Inside the NFL is the longest running show in cable TV history.
Can I ask why you were opposed to that?
Because I had just done a season on Monday Night Football, and first of all, the show wasn't that good at the time, and Monday Night Football was a real grind, and if I had known how easy Inside the NFL was, I probably would have looked at it differently, but I just didn't want to jump on a whole football season again.
I understand.
It's kind of like knowing what I know now and knowing what I knew shortly after, it actually would have been a very easy show to do because it's very simple. I just didn't, and I was interested in other things at HBO. But I went in my boss's office and he said, well, I had to fire someone today, and he fired the guy who was a producer Inside the NFL. He said, but the good news is I'm going to have you run the show. He said, watch it for the past, just like that.
Listen,
you're my
I'm
guy.
not taking no.
You're the one to change this. And it was very flattering. I'd only been there 6 months, and it was a big show, but my response was, I don't know if I want to do this. And he was really taken aback because he had fired someone.
Yeah.
So I could do it.
By the way, there are people too that are like, what? You don't know if you want this?
So there was a knock on the door, and it was his secretary. And she had said, hey, we have that meeting. And now I realize this was a department meeting.
And you're running it.
No, he's going to go announce to the whole department that he fired someone, and no one ever got fired from HBO. He fired the guy who's producing Inside the NFL to have the new guy run it. And it was in front of a department of 50 people. This was the whole reason of the meeting. So I saw him get really nervous. I said, look, I'm not saying I won't do it. I'm just saying I would prefer to discuss it further.
Right, before you present it to the entire department producing this.
So we go to the meeting, and he nervously looked at me, and then he announced that I was going to produce Inside the NFL. And
how'd you feel?
There was some gas. People were like, ooh. Some people are like, who's Michael Mann?
Yeah.
And I felt, oh, wow, all right, this is odd.
This on. You better break down those doors you were talking about earlier.
Well, I went back to my desk, and I had a message from my sister who worked at ESPN at the time. And she said, hey, give me a call. And I called her, and she said, hey, remember that show that you and Neil were talking about at Christmas? My brother was out here making movies and had started to do some production stuff and TV. And we had discussed the idea for a reality show. Survivor was the first reality show on TV, and we're like, hey, let's create our own type of competition reality show.
Uh-huh.
And I said, yeah, vaguely. And she said, well, ESPN wants to buy it. I said, what?
Yeah.
I said, yeah, this guy who was running ESPN, Mark Shapiro, who now runs IMG, he really likes the idea of the show, but he doesn't really know Neil. He knows you, and if you partner with Neil, this could happen. And I was like, well, I got to meet with him because you don't even know what my day's been like.
You don't even know what just happened. Yeah.
So
no clue.
I have a breakfast with him the next morning, and his number 2 guy, and he makes a sales pitch saying, look, I don't have a contract yet, but I think this is happening, and I can make it happen. It's going to take a couple months, but I'm building something big here, and I'd love to have you be a part of it. And give me this whole sales pitch. And after the meeting, I was like, that's it, I'm quitting. So
you're going to quit.
I quit
you
HBO, yeah. And I had a full-time job, had a path that was going to be, you could see clearly I was going to be in a position where I would be going very high at HBO. I was not even 30 at the time. And I was leaving for nothing that was guaranteed. I didn't even have a contract with ESPN.
So what made you jump from HBO and go with the other option?
The idea to just try something on my own.
Okay.
That was it. I felt controlling more of my own destiny. And so a couple months later, we got the contract. And it was this show called Beg, Borrow, and Deal, which, team started in New York. They had to get across country, and they had to accomplish sports tasks.
Because you came out to LA for this.
Yeah, we were going to edit it in LA because the office rent was cheaper. I had to edit the show because my brother didn't edit, but he said, look, office rent's cheaper in LA as opposed to New York, which was true. Well, we were supposed to start shooting the show on September 17th, 2001 in Times Square. I wake up on 9/11. My apartment view was the World Trade Center, and called my brother, who was in LA, who was supposed to fly, I think, the next day. We were supposed to go up to ESPN the next day for some meetings. I said, I don't think the show's happening. Turn on the TV. And so the show went away, disappeared. I had now, in the span of, I don't know, months, quit a job at Major League Baseball and quit a job at HBO, and had taken a loan out for $30,000 to get an editing system and Digibeta machine in my apartment. And had no job. But fortunately, I had good relationships, and people brought me back on to do some stuff.
More freelance work.
More freelance, did some stuff for Major League Baseball, and won an Emmy Award that May.
What project was
it? It was a documentary with Cal Ripken.
Uh-huh.
And then went and did the Olympics in Salt Lake, and at the Olympics in Salt Lake, ESPN called and said, hey, we want to do the show. So the show got greenlit. We did that. Got a season 1, and we were meeting with them to talk about a season 2, and they said, look, we're bringing this guy, Jim Rome, to ESPN. Can you create a show for him too? So we created Jim Rome is Burning, which ran on ESPN for a number of years. So
very successful show.
Yeah,
congratulations on that
we had 2 shows at the same time on ESPN, and then we just started selling shows to other networks and like other production companies do out here. And
do you feel that's when people get to the level that you got to from all those people come to you more than you pitching to people?
No,
or how does it work?
It's a combination of both. I mean, when you're trying to sell in this town, even though content is, you still have to hustle. I don't care who you are. You really, I say you're throwing darts. You got to throw a lot of darts. You get used to getting told no. It's whether you're an actor, you're an actress, or I don't care what the profession is. We're all salespeople. You could be a waiter. You're selling yourself to the people you're serving.
Right.
And trying to present to them that like, hey, I'm really good at this. Can you give me a nice tip? So whatever industry you're in, and at the end of the day, you're selling yourself, and you should always be putting the best foot forward and trying to present the best brand or idea.
Yeah, I think that's something you've done very well and what you stand for. Some of the people may think, well, I want to be at the level you're at. How do I get there? And you're telling us you grind, you work hard, you knock those doors down, and you do your best work, right?
Yeah.
So in some of those building processes in your life, what do you feel like were some of the best purposes you gained in those moments of building your career?
I mean, the most rewarding things were just having a company where you're employing other people. When you get projects and you know you're helping other people get work, I mean, that's pretty cool. When you can do something that you haven't done either, you get challenged kind of creatively. A couple years ago, to your point, someone came to us and said, hey, there's an opportunity to do the Disney Christmas parade. You know, like it wasn't being handed to us. It was like, we'd like you to come in and pitch yourself as to why you should do it.
Yeah.
I'd never done it.
You're like, I don't know about
I
the
don't know
Disney
anything about a parade. I
parade.
went to Pricks, you know,
Yeah.
but it just happened to coincide with the year Frozen had come out, and I had 2 daughters who had watched it all the time, so I knew the movie really well. And
Did you ever wear one of the wigs at
No,
home?
I never wore one of the
No?
wigs. No.
Man, I had to wear those wigs all the time.
But I got the show, and I got pictures with Anna and Elsa, and my
Yes.
girls think I'm really cool for that.
Yes.
But yeah, when you come up with something and you just kind of make it happen, like there's a reward to that, you know. And I always thought at ESPN there was something neat about your job as a production assistant was to watch a game, 3-hour game, whatever sport it would be, baseball, basketball, football, and then you take that 3 hours and put it into 30 seconds or a minute 30 seconds for SportsCenter. But you'd see your work that night. It was kind of neat. You see the tangible result of your product. So that was something that I kind of enjoyed. It was like, oh wow, I actually can.
Instant results
work,
of your
yeah.
work, yes.
So sometimes it takes a lot longer if you're doing a movie that can take years, or if you're doing a TV show, it can take months. But either way, it's kind of like the idea that, all right, I can see a tangible result of something that I'm overseeing and putting together.
And how important is you being a father to your two girls?
It's great. I mean, look, I've got an ego, so I would have thought it would have been a grave sin to not procreate.
Okay.
You know,
yeah,
so it would
pass
have
on
been,
those good looks,
it would have been a
Michael.
crime against humanity for me to not have children.
Of course.
I'm not the one who said good looks. That's you. But it would have been no. I always wanted to have kids, and so I have 2 girls, and they're awesome. They're very fun. I think about Cyndi Lauper had it right. Girls just want to have fun. They
We
really
do.
do.
Girls just want to have fun.
And so I have 2 older sisters, so I'm not coming into the idea of what girls are like and what they become as teenagers blindly.
What do you mean? We're angels when
sure.
we're teenagers.
I can only hope.
We don't want a thing. We don't want
No.
clothes or makeup or boys.
Yep.
We just want to hang out with Dad.
Sure.
That's it.
So no, it's
A rewarding.
it's just something that was always important to me. And some people, my brother, for example, he doesn't have kids and he doesn't want to have kids. My sisters don't, and that's fine. I don't judge anyone who does or doesn't want them. Just say those who have kids, you better want them. And that's the problem when people have kids and they're really not full steam ahead. Like, yes, this is what I want. I'd much rather people not have kids.
Not have them.
Who,
Yeah.
You know,
Well, your
be
brother
smart
has
enough to-
cats.
He has cats.
Those are
yes.
kind of like
Yeah.
his babies.
Just be self-aware to know.
Whatever you need.
Look, be self-aware to know what you want.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so your purpose with your daughters would be what?
Just be a good example. When I had my girls, and I know I asked you this question, we've known each other, I would ask women all the time, so what did your dad do right and what did your dad do wrong? And try and pick up, I should have done a book on this.
That would be a great
yeah.
book still.
And just it's kind of across the board, because look, girls and boys, men and women are different, okay? And there's different rules that apply to raising them. And I would have a pretty good idea how to raise a boy, having been one. And having been around my sisters, I had some ideas and notions, but figured I can't get enough insight and information as to what can work and what doesn't work. And there was kind of a general consensus that for girls, the most important thing that I was told was be there.
Be
no
present.
matter what, be there, be available, be there to take the annoying, be there to take the happy, the good, the bad, the frustrating, but just, as difficult as we may be at times, they would say, just as long as they always know that you're always going to be there and able to listen and not judge.
And I think
then you know you're going to have a leg up.
Yeah, I think those are nice lessons for parents in general, whether you have a son or a daughter.
Yeah.
But those are beautiful things. Do you ever take your kids to work with you?
Yes. So I had a job. I worked for the NFL recently for about a year and a half, and that was the first company job I had since they were born. Like they'd always known me at Mant Bros, where my brother and I, we own a building, and we have 2 cats in that building. I don't think they put a connection to that building being work, because I would go there and they'd see their uncle, and it was just, and they were really little,
and the animals,
and there's more cats, and they're just like, that's just another part of our house.
Yeah. The extension
and
of
so
home.
then when I went to work at the NFL, it was all of a sudden it was like, oh yeah, and they wouldn't really go all the time. I think they liked going on Sundays because I'd take them in the green room and they'd get snacks. So they liked that. They liked when I did the Disney Christmas parade, because we went down to the parade, and I would already travel to Disney, so I had a hotel room. So I just brought them. Yeah. And then Disney was kind enough to help, shuffle them around the park. So they got they live in a fantasy world. They got VIP. They don't know how real people go to Disney. They got They got treated very well.
The sweating in the 102-degree lines.
No clue. They had the woman, my boss, who was fantastic, was like, oh, take him into a store. She'd buy him a hat or whatever, or mouse ears. So yeah, they've been into work, and I don't think they realize how work is for some people.
Of having grown up with a successful father.
But now I'm backing my other office, and again, they like to come just to see the cats, and they like to come and raid the snacks.
But so. I think it's more than cats and snacks. You're teaching them. They're seeing. Kids are observant. They're sponges. They soak it all in when they're there.
I think they see cats and snacks.
Okay.
I think that's what they're taking in.
Well, hey, whatever they're seeing, you're planting seeds that will help them. And so at this point in your career out here, what's next for you and your brother?
Yeah, I mean, look, the industry, everybody's industry's changed a ton in the past, 15, 20 years, and especially in the past 5 years. Certainly anything in the media and content space. For myself, I just want to keep learning. And working on telling good stories. That's, that's really it. Whether it's sports, whether it's a parade, we're doing stuff for the DNA company, 23andMe. Honestly, it's like there's new platforms and new opportunities, and continuing just to keep moving forward, because so many things are fast. If you're not exploring different ways to do things, you're going to be in trouble.
You're going to be left behind.
And if you're, just saying I'm only going to do in this space, again, I think you could get left behind. So,
so continue to expand your education, whether it's learning new products, expand your own personal tools to be more valuable for whether a company or starting your own business too. Yeah,
for sure.
What do you think at this point in your life has been your greatest purpose?
My greatest purpose, I guess, having children, have my daughters. That'd probably be it. Yeah. I mean, that's for me the most important thing, is raising them and seeing them grow, and hopefully being funny and smart and fairly productive.
Them or you?
Them.
Okay.
Them. Yeah. But professionally,
your biggest professional
I
purpose?
would say, I don't know, I don't think of it as a purpose. Again, everything goes back to my kids and that, but I think my biggest reward is, again, coming up with projects or ideas that can help other people work.
And so if people are interested in working with you, how will they do that? How will they get in contact with you?
I'm easy to find, Michael Mant on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. It's pretty simple to track. And that's the nice thing about the world now is, I guess in some cases it can be not so nice, but for the most part, people can connect easier. So, Just
That'd
look,
be-
we have a website, but I don't think anyone goes to a website anymore, so that doesn't really.
Well, and I think your work speaks for itself. So if you guys would like to get in touch with Michael, there you go. Those are all the places that you can find him and his brother as well from Mant Brothers Productions. They do entertainment, sports, and so much more. Thank you so much, Michael, for being on the show.
I'm very proud of you.
Thank
This
you.
is a very long time friend, so
Yes,
it's great to.
long time coming. Michael actually hired me for my very first hosting job in LA years ago. So it's full circle to now.
My credit.
Yes.
If she succeeds, all me.
It is definitely all you, but I've been pounding down those doors as well.
Yes.
You've taught me well. So if you guys want to tune in to the next episode of Purpose, you can go ahead and click on the link below. I am Brittany Zonker for this episode.